Hello, good morning, everyone, to the session about Visio. So we'll talk to you about the roadmap, what we are up to, and what's coming up in the future for Visio. I have Angela, myself, Saurabh, Mukul, and Abhinav. We'll start with a quick video of the things that people have been doing with Visio.
At 45, my mother had colorectal cancer. It was a really difficult process to go through. So for me, it was clear I will need to get screened. Instead of doing a normal colonoscopy, I discovered that I could use a small video camera that I could swallow, taking videos of my intestines. Corporate Health International came up with a business model on how to get this little capsule into daily clinical life. Ultimately, we can actually eradicate colorectal cancer. And Microsoft Visio helps us run that business.
We're a small medical practice in a very rural area in the Highlands of Scotland.
A lot of our patients have to travel 4 to 5 hours sometimes to the main hospital. By using the colon capsule, we bring hospital care into communities that find it difficult to access.
We're out there to make something so simple. Pretty much every doctor can do a capsule endoscopy procedure. We rely on Microsoft services to optimize our operations. Flowcharts is the language of choice when we talk with clinicians, and Microsoft Visio helps us speak that language. To build them, we first create a simple list in Excel that then seamlessly translates into a Visio flowchart. We're working on technology that can save people's lives. Colonoscopy from start to finish might take up to 7 weeks and cost thousands of dollars. Capsule endoscopy, this can be done in 7 days and hundreds of dollars.
By making the diagnosis much easier, you can change colon cancer.
I can see this being much more widely used. We'll pick up cancers at a much earlier stage where they can be readily treated.
The future looks bright, and I think we're involved in something that's going to make a big difference to people.
Colon capsule endoscopy is a game changer because it has the potential to eradicate colon cancer.
All right. Hello. Thank you all for joining us here today, in person and online. I like our product, but it's really stories like Corporate Health, where you really see the impact of Microsoft Visio together with other Microsoft products, making a meaningful impact to people's lives directly. That's what gets me excited to get up for work every day. I'm also excited to be back here in Orlando to celebrate the first birthday of the general availability of Visio Online GA. Visio Online is a web-based diagramming tool we announced last year that complements our Visio desktop app. And to celebrate the first birthday of Visio Online Plan 1, our $5 per user per month that gives you Visio Online service, bringing the power of working visually to everyone. Now, even just in this last year alone, if you think about it, the business world and the modern workplace continues to change a whole lot. Simply put, running a business is still getting more and more complex. Business processes, process management, that takes on a whole new level of complexity. There's a growing need for companies to figure out and have more transparency over their processes and more understanding of them so that they can stay compliant, so they can maximize the return on their investment in optimizing their processes. On collaboration, with teamwork being the new way of work, more people are spending more time collaborating. And the nature of teamwork is changing too. If you think about it, companies are becoming more global, more networked, and teamwork is being more distributed. And then there's data. There's lots and lots of data, and that volume just keeps growing and growing. And where they come from, the sources is still getting more and more diverse. So the core currency for any company is to take all of that data and convert them to actionable insights. So customers are looking for a simple but powerful tool to create diagrams so that they can visualize business processes easily and visualize much more, so that they can collaborate together in openness and transparency and inclusion in this new age of teamwork. And to connect diagrams to real-world data so that they can make actionable decisions in real time. And that's exactly what Microsoft Visio has been delivering. We've helped our customers do exactly that. You've just heard from Corporate Health, who takes our data visualizer feature within Excel and create crystal clear diagrams for their physicians in both clinical and research settings. Another example, the Traveler Corporation, they use Visio along with other Microsoft services with their business analysts, reservation agents, business managers, and business leaders to visualize dynamic data so that they can optimize their businesses and, most importantly, give their travelers an awesome vacation. Now, part of the modern workplace investment, Visio has been delivering a whole lot in the past years. Besides Visio Online, which by now also has IT network diagrams in there, we've delivered PowerPoint slide snippets. We've delivered Data Visualizer with bidirectional change between Excel and Visio. We've delivered Visio Visual and Power BI. We've also just recently developed and released Teams integration, so you can work directly in Teams. All of this is part of our vision to not only make Microsoft Visio an awesome diagramming tool in itself, to serve everything from basic to core and advanced diagramming needs, but also to bring that power of working visually to all Microsoft 365 and Microsoft services, period. And with Microsoft Visio and all of the great assets from Microsoft, you think about it, the innovation possibilities are simply limitless. So rather than me talking more, I'd actually like to invite Mukul Kumar on stage, and as well as Sarb Gol, to show you the power of some of our recently released capabilities.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you, Angela. Hi, everyone. Good morning. How's everyone doing? Having a good conference? Cool. I hope everyone had their morning coffee and everyone's excited because we have a lot to show you guys. And so let me just take a step back, right? Angela mentioned it's our 1-year birthday for Visio Online. Last year we launched that. But let me just step back a little bit and tell you how we got to that point. So early last year, when we were thinking about what's our next big thing for Visio, right? We were not just thinking about coming up with a cloud solution or a cloud application. We were thinking much more than that. We were trying to come up with something which becomes your natural language for visualization. It's going to be your visual canvas, cross-platform, anywhere, anytime, right? So that you can extend that capability to other tools, other Microsoft applications, right? And then we thought, Visio Online is the natural path for us. We launched Visio Online, and we've been doing a bunch of work on that, and we've been adding a lot of features, and that's what makes the Visio team so great. As Angela mentioned, every day we come into the office, we are excited because we have such a passionate group of users and partners and MVPs who always tell us how they're using the tool, what they're using for, and we take all that feedback and try to come up with features which make sense, which add to the richness of the diagramming tool, the stencils, templates, features, in terms of data, in terms of collaboration, and that's what we want to show you today, right? So starting with Visio Online. Visio Online is available in 2 plans, Visio Online Plan 1 and Plan 2. Thank you. And so with Visio Online, our goal was to give the power of diagramming to everyone. So you can get started quickly on any platform, any device, any browser, right? And we want you to make professional looking diagrams, and that was very important for us. It's not just gonna be some basic diagrams, but professional looking diagrams, which you can collaborate on, which you can share seamlessly with your employees, your teammates, and so that's what we did. But let me also talk to you about what other features we we were working on. So the first feature we kind of focused on was data visualizer. And what it does is that, as you saw in the corporate health video, you start with a list. So you have all the good process data in your Excel, which we give you a one-click way to convert that into a nice-looking visual. And that's what Data Visualizer does. We've been working a bunch on that as well. We've given you the flexibility to maintain the diagram shape. It's a much nicer looking diagram. The data is always in sync with the Excel and the Visio diagram, which means that if you make a change in Excel, it gets reflected in your Visio diagram, and also vice versa. You make a change in the Visio diagram, and that in turn changes the data in the Excel, which is great. People love it, and we've been getting feedback that it's great, and we are coming up with some more new features on that, which we will share later.
Sure.
In fact, Saurabh is here to help me out with our demo, so we'll be doing a lot of switching because we have so much to show you.
Sure, thanks, Mukul. So like Mukul said, Data Visualizer, which we showed the video also, is one of the first steps that we are taking to make diagramming much more data-driven. So I'm sure some of you must have tried it out, but just for the benefit of those who might not have, let me show you what it can do for you. So many times business analysts capture requirements, or they capture the business process flow in a simple list like this, what you can see on the screen in Excel. Excel gives a very quick way to just write down things, but what's needed really is a much more visual process out of it. So what we've done as part of Data Visualizer is that we've made it a very simple process for you to take something like this, which is captured in Excel, and quickly create a Visio diagram out of it. So this is the first demo of the day. Let me cross my fingers and say, export this table to a Visio diagram. And the moment I do it, what it will do is that it will try to apply some heuristics on the table that we have provided and try to create a Visio diagram for you. So this is something that we launched a little while ago, and here it is. Thank you, Visio. So as you can see, it has converted that diagram and into this, it has converted that data into this beautiful looking diagram. It is a pretty long process flow. As you can see, there's about 30 steps or more in this, lots of branching, lots of loops and everything. And what we have been working on over the past few months is to improve the layout, the automatically generated layout from this particular Excel to Visio conversion. So this is an example of a flow chart, but you can create a very good looking process flow chart, CFF diagrams through it already. And as you can see, it's not just the process steps, but if there was any other data, metadata about the steps, such as what are the risks at each of these steps, are there controls in place or not, all of that information can go from your Excel into your diagram. I'm sure many of you would know that every shape in Visio can be linked to data, and I'll just try to show you that. So shape data, make it a little bigger. So a lot of the information is already here, and as you can see, the number of risks associated with this, whether the controls are in place or not, has been brought in from the Excel file into this thing, into the diagram. And now to just quickly show you what Mukul was talking about in terms of the bidirectional nature of this linkage, which means that if you make any changes now to that Excel file, you can just refresh your diagram and all those changes will be brought in, and the other way around is also possible. So what that allows you is that in a scenario where, let's say there are a lot of subject matter experts in your organization who are not very familiar or not comfortable with Visio, what they can continue to do is that they can continue to describe their process in an Excel file just by writing down the steps, just by indicating the various metrics that they want to show over there. But let's say during that process, one of them decides that, okay, this after this collector enters the line of business for this particular workflow, they need to add another step. So let's see, this is the row where the collector enters the LOB, the line of business for this particular application. So let's say what I want to do is I want to quickly add another step over here. So, okay. I'm much more better with Visio than Excel, as you can see. But, so I'll change this to 750 and make this step number 750. And let's say they had also, somebody else was also working on this particular diagram, and they added a comment, let's say over here, saying that add another step.
Oh, he's really pushing it.
Yeah, I'm pushing my luck because the first demo went through. I'm pretty excited now. So let's say, add another step after this. And let's say this guy said that, okay, I'll make it red till that thing is not done. So I've done some changes in the diagram. Somebody has gone ahead, and I'll just save this one, actually. Or don't even need to do that, I think. So let's say somebody has changed the diagram, and somebody else is working on the Excel sheet, but this guy comes to know that, okay, I need to refresh the diagram. All that I need to do is go back into my design tab here and say refresh diagram. So what you'll see is that the changes that we did, the person who was working on Visio did, they will be retained, but at the same time, the changes that the person did in Excel will be brought in automatically. It will not mess up your layout. It will just bring that step in over here. So did I not save it? Oh, sorry. They need to save it, otherwise it doesn't know.
So much of the feedback here is already incorporated, and when we launched this feature, Data Visualizer, we got a lot of usage, and people reached out with good feedback, and Visio being an agile team and a passionate bunch of folks, we took all that feedback, and now here you have it. It's the earlier diagrams look much linear. Now you have all that branching, how a human would do it, and it's already applying that formatting. So that's where we are.
I think I didn't change the entry over here, so you just see another step added with the same text over here. But if I would have changed the text over here, you would have seen another step added with the updated text also. So what this allows is that people who are working in Excel can continue to work in Excel, but those who are working in Visio can continue to work in Visio, and they can work collaboratively to define their processes and do the process reengineering that they want to do. So moving on.
And so one of the next features we want to talk about is conversion of a Visio diagram to a PowerPoint slide. And so for many of the folks, sharing a Visio diagram is not always possible, and they want to present it to their business leaders or execs. And sometimes PowerPoint is the choice. And so what we do here is we make it really easy for you to export a Visio diagram as a deck. And the way we do that is, and Saurav will show you that, but the cool thing is we actually leverage the morph feature which is present in PowerPoint, which creates its animation, right? And so when we export that, it automatically generates a PowerPoint which has animation. It jumps from the start of the flowchart all the way to the end of the flowchart. And so Saurav will show you that, but I think it's a really cool feature, and that goes on to show that how we, being a first-party application here at Microsoft, we are able to tap into PowerPoint, Word, Excel so much better than anyone else can.
Right. So like Mukul said, every diagram is here to tell a story, and exporting it to PowerPoint and doing all the animation stuff over there sometimes makes that storytelling a little bit easier, because sometimes, as you guys might know, visual diagrams end up being a little bit more complex because they try to capture the entire process flow of a division or of an organization. So a lot of people asked us that, how can we use that to present to our executives who have, slightly shorter attention spans most of the time because they're busy with so much more. So we said that, okay, what you can do is that you can come into Visio. We've created this new slide snippets pane. You can come and define areas of your diagram that you would like to be exported into various slides. So all you need to do here is just add a slide snippet pane, area, and what it will do is that it will show you a live preview of how it's going to export into PowerPoint. You can enter a title over here. Let's say processing, and you just say export. I just added a bunch of them. I didn't want to bore you with adding those things. And as you can see very quickly, it has exported into a PowerPoint. And the very interesting thing is what Mukul was mentioning, that when you are presenting a diagram like this, which is quite complicated, you want to take people through it a step at a time. So it lets you walk people through. So let's say that was the first step. This is the next step. You can put in some more content over here to talk about each phase in your process map, and you can go one step at a time. It will do a nice morph animation, letting you go or take your audience through the diagram easily.
Very cool. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is, the collaboration aspect of Visio Online, right? And as I mentioned, Visio Online enables us to be the visual canvas in all application. It can be cross-platform. And one of the best examples we have is how you can now open a Visio diagram within Microsoft Teams and in fact be able to edit that within the Teams panel. You don't have to even get out of Teams or into Visio to edit your diagrams. So that's really powerful, and we want to show that as well. Why not?
I think you'll have to unlock your machine. So integrating with Microsoft Teams or with any of the other tools that we are going to show you today is possible because, being part of the Microsoft family, yeah, you should be on. Yeah. Being part of the Microsoft family allows us to do these things much more efficiently. Not coming through? Okay, I'll show it from my laptop. Okay, and probably because I was presenting from this laptop as well, it got a little confused. Let me end this presentation.
With Teams, we really aiming for, it's the hub for collaboration, and we want all the applications to be kind of native to Teams. So we don't want, so you can already do that with Word, Excel, and PowerPoint. So we, recently added Visio to that as well. So now it's much more simple. You have, all your Visio files showing to the SharePoint online background in Teams, and then you can just simply click that, open that within the browser, within the Teams panel, and start editing it, start commenting, sharing, collaborating, all that good stuff. So that's, again, made possible by Visio Online.
Yeah, so now that we have the Visio Online canvas, it is embeddable across various applications within Microsoft, and we are going to make it possible to embed it in other custom applications as well. So this shows you the power of the first-party integration that we have brought about, where the online canvas is now available right within Teams. So let's say you're having a collaborative session with your offshore team or some partners across the world, and you are in Teams, you're discussing something. You can use the full power of the Visio Online canvas, not just to discuss concepts that you might have already drawn diagrams for, but also for things like brainstorming and mind mapping while you are in the discussion. So all that you need to do is bring up the Visio canvas over here. You can add all the shapes that are available to you, and you can, let's say you're trying to build together the layout or the architecture diagram for new software that you're trying to build. You can do all of that within Teams. And what it will help you do is that it will keep the files synced within Teams folders so that you don't have to search for them here and there. And you can have more conversations around those files as well. So Teams provides that overall collaboration framework, and Visio provides the visualization framework within Teams.
The one thing I want to mention is that for most users who are on Office 365, they don't even have to have a Visio license in order to be able to view these Visio diagrams and start commenting on them. Just for the editing part, you need a Visio license. Cool, so the next feature is the one I'm most excited about, and that's the ability to import Visio diagrams into your Power BI dashboard. So this is, again, made possible by the power of Visio Online, where it's the visual canvas, which can be extended into other applications. And the way we started thinking about this was, you have all these nice Power BI, powerful dashboards, but we felt what's missing was, if you could bring in a Visio diagram to add that real-world context to those dashboards, that'll be really powerful. And most organizations, already have assets built on Visio, floor plans or network IT diagrams or business process flows. So why not leverage that in order to visualize that data, right? So what we did was, for Power BI, we added a Visio visual to the Power BI marketplace, which you can simply download and then import a Visio Online diagram and then start working on that diagram to visualize that data. And we definitely want to show you that demo. We have more sessions lined up on that, so definitely try to attend those, come to our booth, but we would also want to take this time to show you how easy it is to bring in a Visio diagram and actually create those powerful dashboards.
Can I show them? Let me see if your machine can project now.
Do you want to show it here? I think mine is not working.
Come off. I think yours got disconnected probably. Is it this one?
Can we get some tech help here?
We can do that also.
Okay, do you wanna? Okay. Cool. So why don't we do this? So we have Abhinav here from Arcadis, and he's, his organization has been using the Power BI Visio integration, the Visio Visual, and they've been building very cool applications. So today, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hand it over to Abhinav to showcase what they built with Power BI Visio. And I think that'll be a much more powerful story. And hopefully, if we are able to figure this tech issue, we can maybe show you the demo as well. Here you go,
Six,
Abhinav.
I think 6, I think, right?
Hello, everyone. I hope you guys are excited with all the cool features that you're showcasing, because some of them even I wasn't privy to before now, and they're really something that we want to take back to our clients and then showcase it, because especially like having the thing in PowerPoint and so on and so forth is really something that helps, empowers us as an organization to deliver the message more effectively to different clients, right? But anyway, so I'm Abhinav. I'm a business advisory consultant at Arcadis. We are a design and consulting firm where we not only use data as an asset, but we also use our business expertise to stitch that with the data and then provide our clients and help them become more prescriptive, predictive, and then proactive with the information that we have, right? And we use a lot of different tools to do this, and obviously the Microsoft Suite too. And we use Power BI, we use Flow, and obviously Visio too. So today we have 2 examples to showcase to you, and maybe if I could get the clicker. Thank you so much.
You want the presentation?
Yes.
Once.
Okay, so that's us, right? So among the 2 examples that we have, the first one is something that we were monitoring different assets in a water network, right? And we were monitoring the different hazards applicable to each of these assets. So a little background on this is there are more than 80 assets which consist of booster stations, pump stations, water treatment plants, and so on and so forth, right? And each of them have around 500 points overall allocated to them for different hazards. And we were mapping this in Visio and then showcasing to the client to have a one-pane view of the entire visual. So they wanted to see all that information in a single pane of glass, right? So that's what we were able to do with this particular example. And if I can quickly switch over to my Power BI. Awesome. So over here in the Power BI, what you're seeing is in the Visio diagram itself. So it's a network diagram where the centers are the different assets, right? So all the nodes are different assets. The circles in the circumference are the different hazards allocated with the assets, right? So you're being able to see in one view the different status points of all these different assets. And the powerful fact about this is of having this information with Visio itself. One, you can have the field mapping to have color indication to kind of showcase what you want to define as the different parameters for the assets, right? You can have the different filters mapped out with the data points so that not only do you have the single pane glass view, you also can drill down to the most down level to kind of showcase it in different ways. So for example, if I wanted to see only all booster stations, right? So I could click on that and then only those highlight up in the map. So for different client stakeholders, if they want to check a particular hazard type, or if they want to check a particular asset type, they can have that view in one visual. The next interesting part about this is not only is it a visual network diagram, you also have data integrated in the backend, right? So in Visio, you had data information that was integrated first. Then we use that network diagram to integrate it in Power BI, where you're getting filterable and different applications to showcase the data. But the highlight of this example, right, is not just the fact that all this is possible, we're also able to showcase different scenarios. So with Power BI's feature of bookmarks, which some of you might already be aware of, we can create not just one Visio diagram on the same pane of glass, but we can have 2 or 3 or 4 based on the requirement. So for example, in this case, where we're showing the baseline scenario at the moment, we can, and I might need both fingers to do this. So we can also have the second stressed baseline, where it would automatically load the second Visio on the same visual itself, right? So imagine that this is available on and embedded in a website, right, where the client is going in and he wants to look at the entire network, and he's not only being able to see one kind of scenario, but 2 scenarios of around 80 plus assets of more than 500 points, and he can filter to whichever level that he wants. So it's really powerful when you give the entire story in that fashion, right? So that's one of the cool examples that we have. The next one is a little bit more interesting. Well, I feel anyway, because it has a nice story tied to it, right? So in this, just to give you a little bit background on what we're seeing, on the right-hand side, you can see the facility layout with different buildings, and each building has a number of tasks associated with it. And the number of tasks means that the waste needs to be remediated from that particular building, right? So they had a vendor who needs to remediate the waste from that building based on the number of tasks associated with it. So higher the number of tasks, the darker is the color that you can see at the moment over there, right? So the lighter the color, obviously, lesser the number of tasks. What you see on the right-hand, on the other side where you see the status analytics is you see the in progress, completed late, pending, completed on time, and past due, to not only be able to showcase what type the task is, but also be able to see how is the vendor performing at that particular moment in time, right? Below that, you see the completed on time and on time completion ratios. What this was able to do is we were able to not only showcase the information, but also treat it as a KPI to evaluate the vendor, right? So now you're not only talking about showcasing analytics, you're talking about how can we proactively make a vendor become more, better in what he's doing. So to go through the story now, so when the on-time completion percentage dropped below 25%, that was a trigger that sent a Power BI alert, which was integrated with Flow, which sent necessary emails to different stakeholders, and they were able to identify the fact that the vendor is dropping below the required performance levels. So at this particular point, the different stakeholders within the client organization came together and kind of looked at this visual to kind of see what exactly is happening and why was the vendor not performing to the required standard. The beautiful part about this is now, since we have the status analytics and the facility layout side by side, they are able to click on the type of status and then kind of see what exactly is the buildings associated with it, right? So since we're not really bothered with the in progress right now, and we were more bothered about the completed, the pending and the past due, right? So when they reach the pending one, you can immediately see that there are 2 buildings at one side of the facility that had a large number of tasks that needed waste remediation, right? But having the power to be able to see it in this kind of layout, the client was immediately able to identify that this was because of a construction that was happening in that area, and the vendor was not able to reach those buildings, right? So it wasn't a vendor fault, but it was something that was happening because of construction, because of the client. So they were able to immediately go back and say that this is not a vendor fault, and the vendor was doing his due diligence, and then it was just that the building was not able to be reached due to construction purposes, and later on it would be solved. So now we're not only talking about using this data and showcasing it, we're also talking about alerts, triggers, and then talking about how we can use this information to analyze what's happening and then proactively preempt any kind of information that should be correctly
I
interpreted.
think there's so much meaning hidden in these numbers, and sometimes the regular bar charts and pie charts just cannot bring out that information that is inherently present in this data. Yeah. And being able to present that alongside these business analytics metrics that you have captured here gives you that added edge to see things where they belong, right? So.
Absolutely. Just something obvious that kind of we lose context of. So the facility layout is something that clients develop when the facility is developed itself. Right? It's an AutoCAD drawing which you can import in Visio, and then you can import in Power BI. Right? So it's already available. Then why not use it in this fashion? So that's the takeaway from the second example. Sure. If you could go back to the presentation. Thank you so much. And the button. So right, just a few words about the same thing that we had showcased right now. And so what does Visio mean to us as an organization, right? How do we take this to our different clients? So we have something known as the Arcadis Power Pack, right? So where we stitch our business expertise and provide all these kind of solutions using different tools. And Microsoft Visio is one of the key ones that we do use because it, like we were just discussing, maps the entire process from the get-go, right? So when ideation was happening, when the design thinking is happening, you are looking into how you can solve the process, and you map it out, you lay it out. You already have this available, you take it to the next step, and then you have the solution and have the analytics and use it as a sustainable infinite loop kind of thing for the design thinking process, right? So it's an end-to-end solution that we are able to provide using the Arcadis Power Pack.
Yeah, no, and like this is the kind of story that really excites the product group. And just going back to what I think Satya was saying in his keynote yesterday, what we want is we want to create the platforms that organizations like yours can use to build even bigger things out of it, right? So we want to provide you these kind of things which you can stitch together and serve your clients and bring about these kind of interesting improvements in the world overall.
Definitely.
So yeah, thank you so much. Angela, you had some questions for?
Well, thank you. It's always so exciting to hear directly from our partners and customers. How long have you been building with Visio Visual, or how long have your firm been building with it?
So, the firm, obviously, we've been using Visio for quite a long time now, right? We've been having different process diagrams, and that mapping has been going on for quite a while. I'd say we started integration the moment you guys released it. I think we had some other questions that we were talking with the team, and we were really interested in having this capability to have data integrated with the information and showcase it in such a format.
That's awesome. And out of all the clients that you've worked with, I'd love to hear some more real-world impact you've seen, from the power of working visually.
Absolutely. So we have a Global Excellence Center in India, right? So they help us to create all these different examples and solve globally different client problems. So we have a water project in UK, we have some projects in China, we have some projects in the US where we're able to map these different processes and then cross-functionally showcase all these examples throughout the globe. So it's just really great to be able to do that in one thing.
That's great. Of all the clients that you worked with, I'm curious, what are some of the aha moments when they see looking at Visio and they realize, wow?
Definitely. I think the single pane of glass, that was really a good example for the aha moment to happen, because when we were talking to the client that these are all the different touch points, and just think about it, like take it one step back. What did the client have before this kind of thing, right? So at that time, you had a PDF report, you have an Excel sheet, which has all these lines, all this jargon about all the different points, and that's absolutely true that they can filter it and then we can get to the information, but having it visually effective, like we were just talking about a few seconds before, with the different things that the client stakeholders need to be doing, it's just a lot more intuitive, and they're like, yes, this is what we want. This is how we need to be seeing our data.
That's great. So now switching gear a little bit, want to hear kind of your experience in building with Visio. We'd love to hear what you love about it, as well as what are some of the challenges you found.
So I'll start with the challenges and then go on to the love about it, right? So the challenges for me have always been to, so Well, and you've been solving it too. So the part about having it able to map it down in Excel and then convert it into a process diagram, this was something that we quite often thought about, because Visio is, when we map a process, it's not the same, right? Once we do it, it keeps changing, and it becomes a little tough to sustain it in that format, because multiple folks need to be mapping it, and multiple folks are involved in the creation of it. So having it available in Excel, and the fact that you now would, as a team, we would be able to attack that particular problem, that's really awesome. So, but that was the challenges. And the thing that I love about it is obviously the aha moments, right? Everyone wants their client to go aha and then kind of give us that feedback that, yes, this is what we want to see. So yeah, that always brings us a smile on our face. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll take more questions from the audience at the end of the session, but I want to just thank you again for being here. And yeah, I'm going to hand it over back to Saurabh.
So what I'll do is I'll quickly show how easy it is for you to build a dashboard like the one which we just saw from Arcadis in Visio. I'm not going to be able to create it as well as what you already saw, but this is just a quick example to walk you through. So as you can see, in a Power BI dashboard or in a Power BI report, right, what you can now do is that you can insert the Visio custom visual. So it's available on the Power BI marketplace or the Office marketplace right now. So you just go in here, you search for Visio, and you can insert the custom visual. Once you have inserted the custom visual, once it's present in your report, you click on it, you give it some space, because usually you would want to show something real over here, and then you link it to data. And the moment you start linking it to data, what it will do is it will ask you for a Visio file that you want to project the data on. So let's say this is the Visio file, this is a floor plan, and we want to capture the temperature and the expected temperature and the deviation from the expected temperature for each of these rooms. So all that I had to do was take the URL of the Visio diagram, plug it in here, and what it will do is that it will open up the Visio diagram for you right here within Power BI. And now what you can do is that you can very quickly associate the data points. Let's say here I have a column which has the deviation from the expected temperature, and we are thinking about a little futuristic office where everybody would be able to control the temperature of their rooms. That's a big problem in my office. I share it with somebody and he likes it hot, I don't. But yeah, you'd be able to control the expected temperatures, and let's say you want to show how much above or below the expected temperature is the current temperature. So you can come here and you can apply all sorts of conditional formatting. You can display the temperature over here as text also. So you can display it as text over here. You can build it as, let me just open it up a little bit more so that we can see what I'm doing. So you can display it as text. You can use these kind of conditional formatting to build your dashboard. What you'll observe over here is that based on some heuristics, Visio was automatically able to map the data that was coming from your Power BI onto the shapes which were present in the Visio diagram. So in this case, the Visio shapes had a room ID, and the data from Power BI also had the room ID, and so the mapping worked perfectly. But let's say for some reason, as always, data isn't perfect, and you were not able to map some of these rooms. So what we also allow you to do is to manually map the data that you're getting from Power BI with what you have in Visio. So let's say this number 2.fm.007, this wasn't really mapped to something. So what I can do is I can click this, and I can pick the room over here, and it'll map those two, and there you are. So pick a room, and just map it, and the mapping is complete. So I'm taking this simple example to illustrate some of the things, but as you can imagine, in a complex diagram or in a process map, the data that you're getting from your data source might not be perfect, and there might be some amount of what we call data massaging required, and you can do all of that right here in Visio with Visio and Power BI together. So once you're done with it, you just go back to your report, and now there is two-way interactivity, which is by virtue of Power BI, that is already there. So as you can see, once I click on something, it filters the other visuals on the page, just as we were seeing in the Arcadis example. So something so powerful can be built so easily with Visio and Power BI together. And I'm really happy to see that our clients are already starting to use it in their work, and it is helping them. So let me switch back to the presentation.
So it seems we have something to announce today, right, Saurabh?
Oh, yeah. This is the part that really I'm super excited about. So as on this first birthday of Visio Online, we wanted to announce, make a couple of announcements about Visio Online. So one was that, one of the biggest user community that uses Visio is people who develop IT software diagrams and Azure diagrams. So what we have done is that in Visio Online, today we are announcing the release of Azure diagrams. So what you can do is that you can go to Visio now, Visio Online, and you will start seeing these okay, I can just search for them.
You want to switch to your...
Oh, so sorry. Okay. Yeah, you can go to visio.office.com and just search for Azure, and you'll start seeing all these lovely Azure sample diagrams as well as the Azure templates. So we've got like thousands of shapes from our Azure teams. We took it from them, we sanitized them, we made them even more powerful than they were before, and we've started to provide them here. As you can see, all kinds of Azure diagrams you can create right here in your web browser now. So you have a rich template of shapes available over here. You can start dragging and dropping these and start creating your diagrams. We also have created a lot of sample diagrams for you to start with. So if I scroll down a little bit here, these are the sample diagrams that you have with Azure, and you can use one of these or you can start creating one from scratch. As you can see, we have been working a lot on making the Visio diagrams performant in the web browser. So as you can see over here, as I'm dragging the shapes and trying to put them on, you're seeing the helpful guides which help you align and position the diagrams and create really professional looking diagrams, which is not possible with many of the tools out there. And this is all available in your browser. The next thing that we have launched that we're launching today is the ability to create cross-functional flowcharts in Visio Online. So that is, again, another large community of people who create these diagrams in organizations, and Visio is commonly used for that. So if I scroll down here, you'll see we have a bunch of cross-functional flowchart diagrams over here. So we have released it. You'll start seeing these diagrams in your tenants pretty soon. Again, as you can see over here, this is a cross-functional flowchart, all the capabilities, all the richness that Visio provides you in the desktop solution. You have it right here. I can add more swim lanes. We've also provided a menu over here which lets you quickly operate on the cross-functional flowchart. So the reason why I find this specifically very, very interesting is that for some of you, these might be just simple shapes and connectors, but what this represents is the very powerful solution capabilities of Visio, which we have brought online now. For us, it was a big moment when we started seeing some of these diagrams which are so powerful, which have a lot of very interesting inherent concepts, like the concepts of containers, like the concepts of different phases and the tree structure and the structural diagrams and the hierarchy of these shapes, which is behind the scenes powering these kind of diagrams. So whenever I add a new phase over here, it automatically knows how to move the shapes which are contained in another phase to the right? So it might seem a very simple operation at the face of it, but behind the scenes, we have much more richer knowledge about these shapes, how they are contained within different parts of the diagram and how they need to be treated specially. And by bringing it on to Visio Online, we have opened up the canvas for building these kind of diagrams in Visio Online, and we'll be extending it forward for very powerful type of data-connected, data-driven diagrams, such as org charts, just timelines in the Visio Online canvas as well. So moving forward, let me switch back. This is another announcement for the day. We are going to launch Visio 2019 today, and it's going to be available both in the perpetual and the standard format, in the Visio Professional and the Visio Standard formats. So you'll be able to use it on-prem. We understand that there are still organizations which due to compliance reasons or regulatory reasons cannot move their data onto the cloud. So we are going to continue supporting them through our on-prem offering. Here is a list of some of the features that we have included as part of the desktop offering, which is enhanced AutoCAD support, reintroducing a very popular database reverse engineering capability, improvements to the ink and touch, better collaboration support within the desktop application, support for dynamic DPI, support for UML 2.5 standards, some of the wireframe templates, a lot of new stencils, improvements to both the shape rendering and the performance therein, and a lot of accessibility improvements. So this is a long list of things that we have fixed for Visio 2019, or which we have improved for Visio 2019. But I must say that a lot of the innovations that we are building that I'm going to show you next are going to be available only as part of our subscription services, because some of those will require service-driven architectures which we cannot support in a desktop-only client. You want to add anything, Mukul?
No, that's great. So three new announcements today, so I'm feeling good.
Yeah, great. So now let me take a little bit of time and spend maybe the last 15-20 minutes talking about some of the new things that we are going to bring about in Visio as we move forward. So we talked about some of the things. I showed you a little bit about the diagram types like cross-functional flowcharts and the Azure diagrams. What we are also working on right now is bringing another very interesting capability or another interesting type of diagrams into Visio, which is the UML and the wireframes. So let me quickly open that up. Okay. So what we've done here is that we've tried to make Visio a very powerful tool for building a different kind of diagrams, such as the wireframes. So as you can see over here, this is let me just add those shapes here again. So here are my web containers, which can help you quickly, I think it's already added here. Yeah. So here are my web containers and web artifacts that I can use to create these kind of wireframe diagrams online. We are also working on UML diagrams. So as you can see over here, this is a simple UML case diagram. So you have all the shapes that are needed to support building these kind of diagrams in Visio Online. And we are enhancing the capabilities of our online canvas every day. So as you can see, we have got all your context menu, which will be very helpful when you're trying to build something like a UML sequence diagram, where you can assign various properties to these kind of shapes. So you can very quickly build a UML sequence diagram, again, all online. So these are the kind of things that we are working on the online canvas. There's a very rich roadmap over here, starting from, we started with network diagrams, we covered CFF today, we covered Azure diagrams today. We'll be doing IT software diagrams, such as UML diagrams and wireframes next. And then we'll be moving on to things like timelines and roadmaps and org charts within the online canvas. So now that we have this canvas available and we're trying to make it more and more data-driven, some of the other things that we are trying to do is take this canvas and make it part of Excel itself. So a lot of times what we have heard from our users is that, look, my data is already in Excel. I want to create this diagram. I want to start presenting it in Excel or in PowerPoint. So let me just use your machine. I hope it connects now. All right. So the rich Visio Online Canvas is not going to be available only as a standalone application, but it's also going to be part of some of the other applications in the Office suite. So as you can see over here, Mukul is demonstrating what we call the Visio add-in for Excel, What it will allow you to do is that within Excel, you can take your data and create a diagram for it right inside Excel. The power that it will offer you is something that I showed you earlier, where the bidirectional nature of this connectivity allows you to make changes in the data, and your diagram can get updated right there. So as you see, Mukul quickly inserted the Visio data visualizer add-in within Excel, and the moment he did that, we populated it with some sample data. And as you can see, we utilize the same data visualizer technology that I showed you earlier to create this diagram and present it to you right within Excel. So where we want to take Visio is not be a very limited application in an organization. We want to democratize the process of diagramming and visualization across the organization, and we feel that innovations like these are going to make it even more possible. And as I think Mukul was mentioning earlier, we're trying to make sure that all the innovations that we're bringing about are truly cross-platform. So what you see in the desktop, you should be able to see the same things in your online client. Not just the online client, what we are showing you today is that you will be able to use the same powerful capabilities in other Microsoft applications as well. So the same two-way connectivity that I showed you with Visio and Excel working separately, Mukul, you can show them that it works within Excel as well.
So it's going to be very similar, where we can change a few things and it's still going to.
Yeah, so I think what he's trying to show you is that, might be a little hard to read from there, is that if he changes the team which is performing one of the steps, what you would see is that in this cross-functional flowchart, the moment he changes that and refreshes the diagram will automatically understand the changes that have been made in the data, and it will shift the boxes from one of the teams to another, the swim lane that represents another team. So I didn't show you the DV using a cross-functional flowchart, but you can see the data visualizer working very well with the cross-functional flowcharts right here. Back. Yeah. So the story doesn't end here. We just don't want you to be able to create these kind of diagrams. What we also want is that you are able to use these diagrams and actually automate the business process flows that you have in your organizations. So let's say we create one of these process diagrams, and we want to automate it by connecting it to a process flow engine. So for example, Microsoft Flow is the process flow engine for Microsoft nowadays. It's like the spiritual successor for SharePoint Workflow Designer. So you can take a diagram that has been created from that Excel data that we were looking at, and you can very quickly, we have provided a way in Visio for you to be able to export that into a flow diagram. So as you're seeing here, I have a Visio diagram right here. You go into process, and you're going to see a flow pane very soon, where you will be able to configure this diagram and configure your process flow using this diagram. So what you'll be able to do over here is that you click on the flow pane, it'll bring in all your flow connectors right here, and then you'll be able to quickly map the flow connectors to, let me turn on the flow markup once again. Let me zoom in a little bit. So as you can see, I've already mapped some of these steps to the flow connectors. I can change them. I can click on one of those, and then I can click on one of these, and the list of flow connectors that are available to me lights up over here. I can pick any one that I want to associate with this step of the diagram, and once I've done that, I just need to press this export button over here, and it will export this diagram into a flow, into a Microsoft flow, and I can do some configurations over there. It's just going to take a second to sign in. I can do the rest of the configuration over there, and my flow is ready. So we are also working on, again, a bidirectional linkage where whatever you do inside flow, let's say you add a few more steps over there, that can be used to update your diagram once again. So as you can see here, it has created my flow. I can edit it further in flow, and then if I, going forward, once you make the changes over here, you will be able to see the effect of those changes back in your Visio diagram. We're quite excited about this thing because once again, this is kind of like our entry point into the world of business process execution and automation. So we're relying once again on our first-party partners like Flow for now, but we are building this technology such that tomorrow it can be extended to any other generic third-party business process execution engines as well. So I'm really excited about this because I spent many years as a business analyst before joining the Microsoft Visio team, and trying to automate these business process flows in organizations is a really hard task. And having a powerful tool like Visio where you can discuss these things with your stakeholders and then being able to convert it into an automated flow is a really powerful tool that can help many organizations in their digital transformation journey. So forward. I'll probably just present the slides from my desktop instead of making you switch. So we talked about this. Now, so the story doesn't end here. Many times when we automate these processes, we still need to create documentation around these processes which describe the inputs and outputs to each of the steps in these processes which are required for, let's say, auditory or compliance requirements. And we have made that also very simple and easy within Visio. So let me just show you that. Yep, one second. This has this problem that you have to switch apps. Anyway, so the same diagram that we were looking at earlier, which we converted into PowerPoint, let's say we converted into PowerPoint and got approval from our stakeholders about this diagram. Now it's been automated, and all we want to do is convert this into a Word document to submit it for the auditors. All that you need to do now is you go to Process, you say export this to Word. It will once again show you the preview over here. So it has intelligently figured out what are all the swim lanes, what are all the steps involved in the process. And once you export it, it'll create you a very nice process documentation out of this diagram. And again, the good thing is that if you update things in the Visio diagram, you can very easily regenerate these at the click of a button. So as you can see, we took the Visio diagram, we looked at the shape data available with each of the shapes, and we created this this very nice looking documentation about the process, defining all the inputs, outputs, the various steps that were present in the process. So we really hope that these kind of features are things which will differentiate Visio as a professional product for use within the enterprises. It will help the business analysts, the IT analysts working in these organizations to drive the digital transformation story forward very quickly. I think we covered part of this thing earlier where we showed you that all these kind of diagrams will be, you'll be able to create these diagrams right within Excel, and it's not going to be limited only to flow charts and process flow charts, but we'll have exciting diagrams like org charts, timelines, roadmaps, all of them available right within Excel, and with much smarter, much more intelligent layouts, so that you'll be able to configure the look and feel of your diagrams that you are generating using very simple techniques like moving around a slider. It will change the layout of your diagram. You'll be able to rotate the diagrams and present it in many different ways. Another area where we are investing heavily is in the collaboration and co-editing space. So today, when you open a Visio diagram online, only one person can work at it at a time. But what we are working on is making sure that many people within the team or people from across different teams can collaborate seamlessly on the Visio diagram. So very soon you'll start seeing the collaboration and co-editing capabilities also being brought to Visio Online. That will help you in scenarios like brainstorming, mind mapping, or any other kind of collaborative work that you want to do with your teams. And that's not enough. We are also taking Visio to the 3D landscape. So you are welcome to join us at our booth where we'll show you how you can take a Visio diagram such as this one, which is like a 3D office floor layout. And at the click of a button, you are going to be able to convert this into a 3D view of the same diagram. So let me just quickly show you. So if I hit this button, what it's going to do is it's going to take this and convert it into a diagram like this. So all the rich information that you could have captured in your 2D diagram. We'll take that and we'll just make it available inside 3D. And this also has full VR capabilities. So I don't have a VR device with me right now, but it's available on our booth. And we also have a session on Thursday where you can come and see and experience it for yourself. That if I click on this, you'll be able to see the entire layout that's captured in the 2D diagram in 3D also. So what we expect this to be used for is not just space planning and equipment planning, but again, the data-driven technologies that we have in Visio, we'll be utilizing those to present that data in 3D space. So you'll be able to see data related to, let's say, the space occupancy or temperature or any other metrics or parameters that you want to capture with these Visio shapes in your 3D landscape as well. Another thing that we are working on is the ability to visualize your Azure resources using Visio. So we are going to make it possible to connect your Visio diagrams to Azure and automatically generate visualizations for your Azure resources. So you'll be able to see the connectivity, the interconnections between your various resources, and you'll be able to plan those resources, monitor those resources right from your Visio diagrams. And last but not the least, as we are working on all of these exciting innovations, we want to be very, very cognizant of the fact that we can only build the platform, but it's up to our partners to take these platforms and then make them available to our customers. So we are going to make sure that everything that we do has a corresponding API that you can use in your solutions to build on and to create actionable dashboards or other business process systems for your clients. The kind of things that we saw with Arcadis, we want you guys to be able to build that. We want you to be able to use the Visio Online Canvas and the capabilities that it provides as a very powerful visual canvas inside your applications and use those to serve your customers. So we have a session on Friday where we'll go in a little bit more detail about this thing. We'll show you how you can use the Visio Online APIs and what is the roadmap for those. So as we talked about it a little bit during our presentation, we learn a lot from our customers. We want to hear from you. We want to understand where you have used Visio, what you have done with it, and what more you expect from the product. So these are all the channels that are available for you to get back to us and let us know your feedback. We are active on Twitter, on Facebook, LinkedIn, and we have a user voice group where you can come and let us know your opinions about the product. So we have 4 more sessions during the Ignite conference where you can learn in a little bit more detail about the features that we talked about in the roadmap. So you can come to our session where we'll talk about how to automate some of these workflows using Flow and Visio. We'll take you through the steps in a little bit more detail, how to link diagrams to data. One of our MVPs, Scott, is presenting that one, and how to see these things in 3D and mixed reality. So you're welcome to join us on Thursday for this session to go and try your hands with the technology that we are building. And finally, on Friday, we have a session where we'll talk about how to use the APIs and go into a little bit more detail with the Excel integration. And if you're interested to learn more about Visio and stay connected with us, you can go to this link, aka.ms/VisioNew, and you can just drop in your email address over there, and we will keep letting you know of all the new innovations that we are bringing out for you. So thank you so much. I think that is all that I wanted to cover today. If anybody has any questions.
Questions, you're welcome to ask us that now or come to our booth. Yeah, we were not joking when we said we had a lot to share. So hopefully the takeaway was that Visio Online provides that visual canvas which we can use everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.